Silver will never be the same. The markets have evolved. How you used to invest 5, 10 years ago is different than today, and in 5, 10 years from now will be different. So as investors, we have to learn how to adjust and adapt accordingly. What's affecting the price of silver changes almost on a daily basis. Now there's this S word that I absolutely hate, that it should have no place in the world of precious metals, and that S word is speculation. What's up, Silver Stackers? This is Silver Slayer. I hope you are having a beautiful day. I also hope you subscribe. I got a lot of fun stuff planned, a lot of giveaways, a lot of different user engagement things where I'm going to be bringing you in and giving you a spotlight to shine. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So I hope you stick around. Now, there's this article titled, "What Factors Influence the Price of Silver?" And I wanted to look at this because, as we know, over time, markets are affected and influenced by different things, right? And there's the unknown variable, which is the biggest why most price forecasts and predictions are almost always wrong. It's like the weatherman. But this article does mention the speculative aspect, which I think is extremely underlooked. But it's so crazy to think something that has intrinsical value, right? Silver, value within itself, is so loosely held to that supply and demand fundamental that it should be. It's why it's a safe haven, because people can't just throw the price off by assuming and just, theorizing on what they think is happening or what the price could or should be. Now, it goes in to say, right, like gold, silver is a precious metal and is considered a store of value. The price of silver is notoriously volatile. That's why they call it gold on steroids or the devil's metal, because it is really volatile, and so it's a lot more dangerous than gold. So what's more, understanding what factors influence silver's price will help you buy or sell in a right time to get your gains maximized. Now, this is the part that I was talking about. Similar to most commodities, the silver price is determined by speculation and supply and demand. Now, speculation when I think of speculation, I think of like the FOMC meeting, right? When Federal Chairman Jerome Powell, like the week leading up to that, like let's say they're going to post an announcement on Friday, but nobody knows what the basis point cuts are going to be or what the rate hike is going to be. But so they're speculating, they're assuming what it's going to be. So they'll start investing off of that assumption, even though they could be, and most times are completely wrong, right? And with precious metals, that same thing happens where it's almost in this false price range because people are acting as if they are right, but then when the actual information comes out, then the markets correct back. But regardless, it should be, what's the supply coming out of the ground, production versus the demand, with something of intrinsical value, right? Maybe stocks or even crypto, you could say, right? Crypto is solely based off speculation, right? It's what people think it's worth. The dollar is. The dollar is only as strong as people think it is because there's nothing backing it. So when people start to think the dollar isn't strong, it literally isn't strong. It's all based off of speculation, right? How people perceive the markets. Silver shouldn't be that. And I do think, and I wanted to bring this video up to really talk about the day that I do think that regardless of what people think the price of silver should be, will be, right? It could step away from that. And that's also going along the lines with price manipulation. I've covered a lot of articles where people talk about, silver price manipulation can only hold up for so long when we have much bigger forces at play heading, coming down the line. So these are some of the things that have influenced the price of silver. So large traders or investors. As we all know, the price of silver is much lower than gold price. Therefore, the silver market's much smaller in value than the gold market. It is more easier to influence the silver price by a larger trade or private institutional investors. And that's also why you'll see JP Morgan manipulate the price of silver instead of gold, because silver is a much smaller market, hence why it's so much more volatile. So such as the Hunt brothers in January 1980, they helped cause a spike in the London silver fixed to $49.45, the highest it's ever been still till this day. And then we're talking about Warren Buffett purchased 130 million troy ounces of silver in 1997. Its price was approximately $4.50 per troy ounce, and total was worth 585 million. All of these clearly indicate that the large traders or investors have the power to influence the market prices of silver. That's actually interesting. I should cover that story. I didn't even know that. I want to cover this story about Warren Buffett purchasing 130 million troy ounces. Okay, so now short selling. Simply speaking, right, the unbridled short selling can artificially depress the price of silver. Short selling is not a normal scale, which is open or incomplete transaction, right? It's also the beginning of trading. In April 2007, the commitment of traders reported that 4 or fewer traders held 90% of all short silver futures contracts, totaling 245 million troy ounces, which is equivalent to 140 days of production. Now, on the COMEX, all of that, that's just basically numbers. When you're looking at the physical asset, it's a much different ball game. And I feel like sooner or later that's going to come into play with the price. For example, this ounce of silver, theoretically 50, 100 other people own the same ounce on the COMEX, but since they're not going to ever turn their contract into physical delivery, that's just a non-existent digit on a screen. But the only real person that owns this ounce is me because I can hold it. That's why people say, if you can't hold it, you don't own it. Now, what the Hunt brothers did, and that's how they pushed the price of silver up, was because they bought all those contracts on the COMEX and then turned it into physical delivery, right? That's what happened. That's how they ended up owning 77% of the global silver supply. So now we can look at the industrial, commercial, and consumer demand. So compared to gold, silver is more affected by industrial needs and by jewelry demand. Silver is commonly used in industrial, commercial, and consumer, such as automobiles, superconductivity, water purification, photovoltaics, televisions, photographies, computers, electronics, medical use, solar, silver manufacturing, coins and metals and jewelry. Almost every day new products are being introduced. The use of nano silver particles deliver silver ions, which will become the newest trend. Now, and I actually remember reading an article, scientists found a way to make silver like 40% stronger without losing any electrical conductivity. This is going to be a very common thing, just more uses as demand grows. So now they talk about gold prices, or actually let's look at this hedge against financial stress. So silver, like other precious metals, can be used as a hedge against deflation, inflation, or devaluation. The price of silver is affected by the current market value of currency, especially the US dollar. From the relation between silver and the US dollar, it clearly shows an inverse relationship between silver prices and USD index. And that's what I was talking about, a direct negative correlation. When the dollar index is high, gold and silver is low, vice versa. So that's another thing that affects price. Gold prices also do really affect the price, but I do think, like I was talking about speculation and price manipulation, there will be a day and age where regardless of what gold is doing, silver will do what it does. Regardless of what stock markets are doing, silver is going to do what it does, and that's because of the supply deficit, the silver shortage, scarcity. That is going to be the biggest influencer. Let's look at it like a graph. Like stock market volatility affects silver to this percent, and then let's say the dollar index affects it to this percent, but supply and demand affects it to this percent. So when we're talking about a silver shortage, no matter what this percent of the dollar index is doing, the shortage is going to affect the price at a much greater percentage since it has a much bigger pull and it's more apparent. And that's also why price manipulation, spoofing, and all that. Yes, it can move the price right now, but the inevitable outcome of the low supply and high demand is going to be silver's greatest opportunity to expand in price. So let's look at this chart right here. So it's looking at this is the 1 week chart. It just shows silver kind of hanging out. Let's move a little backwards. So this is the 1 month chart. There's been a lot of stability around $21. Let's move back to 3 months. So you can see that it tried to hang on around 25. And it's crazy to think just 3 months ago, silver was up almost to $27, right? We get so desensitized to these really these really either high or low prices, and it's hard to it's easy to forget to step back and say, yo, only like 2 months ago, silver was almost at $26, $27, right? Just 10 years ago, silver was $50. And that's very dangerous because you can get stuck in these cycles of, man, silver's low right now. It's 21, and maybe this was a wrong choice for me, even though just a month and a half ago your investment was up to nearly 27. Or someone that bought at $30 during the Wall Street silver movement is bought at 30, so they're desensitized to that really high price at 30. So now they see it down to 21, and they're like, man, silver's down to $21. That's really low. When in reality, that's not really low. The average price of silver for the last 10 years has been $15. So becoming desensitized at a certain price can be very dangerous, and kind of just explained why it is irrelevant when you entered, especially if you're planning on holding for, multiple decades like a lot of us. So yeah, what do you think about this? Let me know what you think. What else affects the price of silver? I know there's some other things as well. I would love for you to share those. I think supply and demand is going to be the biggest outcome of what is going to push the price. I mean, that's probably why most of us also do invest in the silver. A lot of us do from the corrupt financial system. Maybe also the SHTF, survivalists, the preppers, maybe just some hedge against inflation. Some just want a way to diversify their portfolio. What do you do? Let me know. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to hit the like button. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.